Hey everyone, it's Deb here from Deb's Greenhouses, and today I'm really excited to do a virtual tomato tasting and show and tell for you. So today Aaron's behind the scenes running the camera. We picked my personal tomatoes and we organized and labeled them all, and we kind of have a surprise at the end. But what I'm gonna do is do a virtual tomato test. So I'm gonna taste them and kind of give you feedback on them. Now, some of these are new to me. I haven't grown them personally. Some were brand new in the greenhouse this year, and some are old favorites we've grown forever. I know I love them. So I'm just gonna get started. I've got 13 different kinds that I grew myself. I actually have a few more varieties, but the tomatoes aren't ripe yet. But because there was such an abundance, I wanted to do it today. So this guy is so far our biggest tomato. It's Primo. So I've got two of them that were ready. I've already picked some and used them in the house, and they were about this size. This one's a little smaller. I'm gonna cut into this one. What we've got at the end is we have a sample pack to give away of every type of tomato. So I'm just gonna give it a slice and give it a taste. So I've never had this one before. I've never grown it. I grew it on a customer recommendation. That's a good tomato. That would be great on sandwiches. It's really watery, so I wouldn't use it as one to boil down for sauces. Lots of water, but super yummy. And I should have paper towel so that I don't spill. All right, so it was really fresh tasting. It wasn't a heavy, robust tomato flavor. Someone who maybe doesn't like tomatoes, they're not going to be offended by this guy. My next one is Roma. So Romas are more of the oblong shaped tomatoes. They're average this size to this size. That's about 2 inches. That's about 1.5 inches. Romas are generally our meaty tomatoes. So I'm just going to cut into this little guy, smaller one. Very meaty, no water spilling out when I cut that guy. This one's sweeter than the Primo for sure. Really good. I've used Romas before making spaghetti sauce, things like that. If you're making sauces, you definitely want to use a meaty tomato, which the Roma would be the one for you. Over here's Early Girl. So we have quite a lot more of them, but we had a couple more plants. So if there's more of them, it's generally because I have more plants of those, and some of them I only have one plant of. So they average in size, I would say 2 inches to 3 inches. I'm just gonna cut into a little tiny one to get the flavor. This is a meaty tomato. There's no juice pouring out of it. This is way sweeter than the Roma. This is really good. You could slice this on crackers and cream cheese. That's really super yummy. So that is the Early Girl tomato. We have an abundance of cherry tomatoes, and I'm just gonna get through the bigger tomatoes first. The ones we would call beefsteak. So Early Girl, Primo, Manitoba, these are more of a beefsteak type of tomato, where the Roma is definitely the paste tomato. I have another paste tomato, but it's not ready yet. So the Manitoba are a little bit smaller. I would say they're on the smaller side of the Early Girl, about 2 inches. And again, I'm just gonna cut into a baby sized one for the demo. Okay, this one's more watery than the Early Girl. Way more tart. Definitely the husky tomato flavor, but super flavorful. So if you like sweeter, pick the Early Girl. If you like that husky tomato flavor, the Manitoba is the one for you, and I like them both. But this would be super good on a hamburger. It is a little smaller tomato and it's more watery. So again, if you're boiling them down, Early Girl is a good choice. Now we get into the cherries. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 types of cherries. We're just gonna dig right into them. So this one is Rapunzel. This is one that we picked some tomatoes off of, but they can get like up to 40 to 60 tomatoes on a truss like this. I've got one growing that they're quite green, but they're really coming on nice. Depending on what you like would be depending on what you would like for flavor. Rapunzel is mega sweet. That is really good. Not a husky flavored tomato. Oh, that's super yummy. I love that one. If you've ever asked me what my favorite cherry tomato is, at the garden center I've always said the orange zinger. It's a definite orange tomato. I've had them grow a little bigger than this in the past. I've always said it about the size of a bouncy ball. This is a little smaller than that. But let's cut one open. It's not as sweet as the Rapunzel, but I still really like it. It's not a husky flavor. It's one that the kids would really like. Skin's a little bit harder though than the Rapunzel, so that's something to think about as well. So we've done Rapunzel, we've done orange zinger. Generally your orange and yellow tomatoes, I've got yellow tomatoes here, they're going to be a lower acid, so if you need lower acid in your diet, I would lean you towards the orange zingers and the like the oranges and the yellow colored tomatoes. This one, Indigo Rose, it's a very dark purpley black colored tomato. It's the first time I've ever grown it. I don't think these are quite ripe yet. I think we need to see full dark on the tomato, and I'm only saying that because I ate one before. These are fully green inside, so that was definitely green. It has a strong tomato flavor, but it's really meaty. I would say that's pretty darn good. I would like to try it again when they ripen, so I would just leave these on the counter to ripen fully. But we wanted to pick some to show you because they're such a beautiful, like eggplanty colored tomato. I thought they'd be more tart, and I'm glad they're not because that means they'll get better and better as they ripen. Tumbler. So Tumbler is a favorite tomato. I would say it's a staple. We've grown it every year since we've had the garden center. People know it by name. And it comes in a variety size of cherries. Now, the thing about Tumbler is that the way that it grows, it's more compact in height and more branchy. So we grow it in hanging baskets because of the shape, and very prolific. I've had customers tell me they get 250 tomatoes off of one plant. So interesting, it's actually really bland flavor compared to the Rapunzel and the orange zinger. So if you have kids that don't like tomato flavor, you could feed them this, and it's not a strong tomato taste, but it's not really sweet either. So I would say it's okay. So far for flavor, I'm leaning towards the Rapunzel. Okay, so here's the Tumbled Tom Yellow. Again, the yellows are lower acid. And super cute, honestly. I just love having the color of them growing alongside the red. So we'll slice that in half. That's a really fresh, light flavor, less tomato tasting again. Now the Tumbled Tom Yellow also has a really nice growth habit for hanging baskets. So it's one that we've grown in hanging baskets for a couple of years now. Sometimes we mix them with the red just to surprise you when they ripen. I like the flavor better than the Tumbler. A little bit sweeter, but I like sweet things. The next is Little Bing. Super impressed with this particular plant. The plant itself is only about this tall. It's a great patio style tomato, and it branched about this wide. I would say no more than 18 inches, 20 inches wide, and about 20 inches tall. But this thing was loaded. It had like 5 different clusters of tomatoes on it. I showed it in a video last week. And so let's give this a taste test and see if we like the flavor. This is super sweet. Really watery. Skin's a little bit harder than I would say the Rapunzel, but sweetness levels, we're gonna say they're about the same. That is super delicious. If you have a small patio, small growing area, that would be the one, because I couldn't believe how many tomatoes were in that little spot. Okay, the next is Tidy Treats. This also had an abundance of tomatoes on it, but the plant is a lot larger. So let's give this a flavor test. Wow. Tidy Treats is way huskier flavored than all the other cherry tomatoes so far. That's super interesting. Like way more of that robust tomato flavor. Still really good, a little bit of sweetness, but definitely huskier. So if you like a stronger tomato flavor in a cherry, Tidy Treats would be the one so far. Okay, next we have chocolate sprinkles. Generally anything that has a brown striping in it is going to be a more robust flavor. So I'll just cut this little one and see what we've got. Definitely a stronger flavor. Not a husky deep tomato, like not a robust flavor, but just more flavor in general. That's a really good tomato, Erin. You're gonna have to try that one when this is over. Okay, so the last of our cherry tomatoes is Sweet Million. Very large plant. So this is one of those indeterminate plants. Grows tall and gangly and viney. And I've eaten quite a few tomatoes off of the plant already. They're not wrong with calling it Sweet Million. It is really sweet. I would say the sweetest is our Rapunzel, Little Bing, and Sweet Million. They have the most interesting tomato flavor. I'm surprised how bland the Tumbler is for the popularity of the plant, but maybe some people like a more bland flavor. Tidy Treats definitely is our huskiest flavor. So I'm going to stop the camera and pan over everything. Or Erin, do you want to just grab the camera? And just do a slow pan over the tomatoes. And we'll show you what our giveaway is. Just a closer look here. We did take some pictures we'll throw in as well. So our giveaway, we've taken a variety of each of the tomatoes. I'm gonna put the Primo back in here, the large one. And so comment on this video and we're gonna pick a winner for this little sampler pack. If you are not in our area, we want to pick a winner who could pick these up, or I could drop off in Morinville or St. Albert. So if you're in those areas, please let us know you'd like to try it, and we'll pick a winner right away by the end of the day. So thank you for tuning in and watching. We're really excited to kind of share this amazing goodness from my personal garden. So thanks, guys.